Welcome back to the Milwaukee Market Update, where we break down what's actually happening in the Milwaukee real estate market. And today's big question, are closed sales keeping up with double-digit percent increases in new listing growth?
Yeah, Ty, we're seeing huge growth in new inventory here, but how is it actually trickling down for buyers and sellers? We're breaking this down today, giving you a recap of the latest housing summary, reviewing the stats for the month of March here in the greater Milwaukee area.
That's right, because let's be honest, there's a lot of noise out there. Every day it's, is the market crashing? Is now the worst time to buy? Is housing about to explode again? We're here to cut through the headlines and give you the real story about what's happening in Milwaukee.
Exactly. And whether you're thinking about buying, selling, investing, or just trying to understand what's going on with the housing market, we break it down here in a way that actually makes sense for you. If you're new to the show or getting value from these episodes, take a second and hit subscribe. It helps us reach more people who want honest info about what's happening in the real estate market here. You can find us on Instagram at Horizon Homes MKE or homewithhorizon.com.
All right, let's get into it.
Let's go.
All right, Nick, welcome back. I feel like I haven't seen you for years.
It's been a couple of weeks, man. I feel like we kind of fell off the horse on this. Travel schedules. We were down in Myrtle for about a week and a half. Had a couple weddings back to back, so it feels good to be back here in the beautiful state of Wisconsin. Back at it, man. Good to see you as always, too, man.
Yeah, this time of the year is always interesting because it's like if you leave for like a weekend or a long weekend, or in your case a week, you come back and it's like the entire landscape has changed. You go from like brown and dead to like lush and green in really 1 week.
Yeah, it's really nice. And the days are so much longer here now too.
Yeah.
And I feel like you go away and you come back and it's sunny out until 7:30, 8 p.m. and things are starting to heat up. I missed the whole torrential downpour storm that we had. And I've got one of my properties is right on Pulaski, which is kind of by the Wolski's bar area. I think I had like 5 buddies text me. It's a video outside of Wolski's and the street is literally like a river.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, hey, isn't your house like right next to this? And people are like, hey, do you have water in your basement? So that was fun. And we're okay, thankfully. But I was just not there looking at all the videos, like, hope my house is still there. Hope my basement isn't flooded when I get back.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, hopefully people's basements made it through. I've seen some crazy downed trees. We've got water in basements, some final walkthroughs that like it's the best thing in the world while you're like buying a home. It seems like bad luck of like, oh my God, there's water in the basement. It's like, no, this is like you want to know during inspection and final walkthrough, like, is there going to be water coming in? So it's kind of like unlucky, but lucky, double-edged sword to get those kind of things fixed up. But even though we've been out and about traveling around, we've got stats, and to no surprise, same old here for the Milwaukee market statistics that we're going to run through today.
Man. Yeah, I feel like this is the fun part of year where there's more listings always. There's a lot more options buyers have. It's not really spring market anymore. It's kind of like we're hitting the peak season here soon. June typically is historically when the most transactions happen. So that'd be like April, May is all leading up to this. And we're right at the end of April as we record this. So let's see what we got here, man.
Yeah, and I honestly like it because I feel like when you start a new year in real estate, it's not like, oh, it's guaranteed to be the same. Like I think homeowners are like, okay, is my home going to keep going up in value? Home buyers are like, am I still going to have to be competitive? Agents are like, can I repeat the performance I did for my clients last year and the support and the rush? Because like, we're running around in today's market. And now we're like, 3 months on the books, about to have 4 months. It's good to know, okay, we have a good pulse on what's going on this year. Mm-hmm. And like we not only have last month's numbers for March, but we also have what's gone on so far for the trend for the full year. And we're just getting more and more data to kind of advise people through the situation. But let's go ahead and go right through this sucker. So we've got March 2026 stats. This is for the 4-county area that I've got pulled up here. And just kind of run through the high level of what we've got. We have new listings came in at 1,700, up 20%. Pending sales up 530 pending sales, up 15%. And closed sales, 1,150, up 12%. And just a pause, we like this relationship. Like we are deserving of more inventory. And when it's coming, it seems to be going under contract. And fortunately, not only going under contract in the rainy season, but eventually getting to the finish line as well. So far, year to date, new listing activity, we're up double digits, up 13%. And we'll take a deeper dive in that in just a second. Days on market until sale, we're sitting at 32 days, which is up 3 days versus a year ago. So, kind of a slight lift in terms of the time that homes are spending on the market. And then from pricing standpoint, we're sitting at about up 5% for both the average price growth and the median growth. The median sales price today is sitting at $360,000. We're about to hit that peak. Just like you said, the most sales happen in June, July. Our pricing of like the homes that sold are also going to usually peak in June, July as more of that nicer school district inventory starts hitting the market as well. Percent over original list price received, we're now positive above 100, meaning homes are now on average going above the listing price that sellers are picking. So 100.5% going 0.5% over asking on average. Inventory up 16%. This is probably going to be the thing that's hitting news headlines is should we be concerned about up 16% inventory, 2,600 homes available? If you've been following us, you know that we still need more, and we'll do one more click deeper in just a sec. And months of supply, we're at 2.3 months of supply. 4 months is balanced. 6 months is a buyer's market. We're still very much in a seller's market. The sellers hold the power, though we're seeing a slight increase in what that looks like. Anything you want to click into this overview chart before we start going a little bit into the weeds and into the long-term history of these stats?
Yeah, so we need new listings. That's been the story of Milwaukee for the last 4 to 5 years. We don't have enough listings, enough new homes hitting the market for sale to support our demand. That's why we're in this market that we're in, where homes are moving quick. We're in a seller's market. It's competitive for buyers. As a seller, if your home is priced well and in good condition, you're probably going to have a pretty good time. Seeing these things, new listings up 20%, is amazing. That is amazing. That is exactly what we need. And this is all compared to March of 2025. For the year, we're up 13%. So even that lift is good. But we're just looking at a snapshot of up 20. From there, we want to see that those homes are going under contract because that means there's still buyer demand, which they are. Pending sales are up, and then closed sales are up too. And closing sales is a lagging indicator. It takes a month for a closing to happen, and then time that the home is on the market as well. So I'm very happy seeing all of these things because we need more inventory in Milwaukee. We need more homes to be listed for sale to kind of balance out our market. And we're still seeing price growth at this level as well too. Inventory of homes going up. Love that as well. And I think it's also interesting to see that it kind of feels like this is data I would expect for April almost. It almost feels like this year just kind of started 1 month earlier. And that's because if we look at the listings that we had last month, we're still not at the peak of what we were at last year. So there's still more listings that'll be hitting. I expect there to be more listings in the April data than the March data. But we're seeing the percent of original list price received went up about 1%. And that to me is the indication of who is driving pricing for the closed price of a home. Is it sellers that are saying, here's the price, and they're being greedy? Or is it buyers that are the one that are out there competing, driving that sales price up? And we typically see that percent over original list price received hit its peak in April, May, June, July. And then it kind of, in August sometimes, and it kind of starts dwindling down in the winter. And we're seeing that now hit over 100%, 1 month earlier than kind of where it should be. I kind of think everyone is just starting 1 month earlier on the listing season and the buying season. But this is all healthy to me to see that there's a lot of listings hitting the market and they're going under contract still. I would like to see still more listings, but overall, I'm very happy with how this looks. And this is all positive, in my opinion, for what our market needs, which is more supply to be hitting the market right now.
Yeah. Like if I was to give like a health scorecard, like we needed more inventory on the year, we're up 13%. We're closing that inventory. Sales price growth is strong, but not like insane at up 5% year over year on the year. and inventory is climbing. Like those are all the things that you and I have been like hoping for. And even with the inventory climbing, anecdotally, it's still very competitive and there's still a lot of buyers for each one of these listings. Again, there's still some of that like suppressed demand of if we had more inventory, we would probably sell it. And I think these next three slides of new listings, pending listings, closed listings show that. You always speak to this of, new listings in February were up 13%. So 2 months ago. But then as we go to pending last month, right, you have to have new listings to get listings under contract up 15. As soon as we added, double digit percent increase in new listings, the next month, double digit increase in pendings. And then same thing here for the month of March. Again, that's trailing from probably, 45 days ago, double digits in closings. So like when inventory comes, we're seeing it get soaked up. 2 months ago, new listings, are essentially selling right on schedule.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
And
I think it's kind of interesting looking at the pending sales line. Like that is a straight line going up for the last 3 months, which is just a good metric of what's happening in the market. I think we have, it looks like almost as many pending sales right now as we maybe did in the peak of all of last year, which is interesting to see too. That we're not even at our peak season and we already have more pending sales than we did at any point last year when these were taken. And pending sales is kind of a tricky one to track because it's how many homes are under contract at this very moment, and that can change rather quickly.
For sure.
But this is all positive stuff to see here.
Yeah, I mean, this is like the future looking. Like there's people out there shopping and we know that they're being competitive based on the percent over list price received. Like my expectation here is, if we look back to 2025, January, February, March, we're very, very much exceeding March as we just talked about. And we peaked in April. And I think this is kind of showing like as long as new inventory keeps coming, we're just going to keep seeing a rocket ship here on the pending sales, which I'm very hopeful. And I think we've talked a lot about like the long-term trends of inventory, right? We're at like 30% of what we used to have pre-COVID from like an inventory at any point in the market. We're super excited about this new listings. And again, I think this is just like the inventory growth is in double digit, percent wise. And we have back-to-back months of new listing growth. We only had 1,700 new listings hit the market in March. And if you go back to March 2019, we had 2,200. Like we're still down like 22% versus like what that spring ramp up of inventory looks like versus historical. It's great because that's at least better than consistently holding at this down 30% of inventory. We're starting to make up ground, but it's gradual. It's not overnight impact. And oh my gosh, we have this inventory. And it shows through in the months of supply, right? We went up 0.1 from a months of supply standpoint. As soon as we have inventory coming in, it's getting snapped up.
Yeah, and it's still interesting to see just there's some markets I feel like that are still so inventory suppressed. Like my fiance and I are casually window shopping in Mequon, and there's 7 or 8 homes listed for sale in this giant city of Mequon. So it's still like very much hit or miss depending on the municipality that you look at. I also have been seeing too a trend with how quick homes are selling, and I would say they kind of start to fall in now one of two camps, where if it's priced well and it's in good condition, it goes under contract within the first weekend. And if it doesn't, it sits for 2 to 3 weeks. And I've kind of noticed this big disparity of it's either the hottest listing or it's one that just isn't quite perfect, isn't quite the price it should be, and it sits. And I think buyers are also trained in our market right now too, where it doesn't make sense for them to put an offer in below asking on the first weekend because they're just kind of in that mindset of if they've been writing offers that are strong and aggressive, that's almost what they need to get it. And I feel like overpricing your home right now is a big detriment because buyers are so trained that, they would never accept an offer below asking on the first weekend. When in reality, I'm sure a lot of them would. And so it's kind of interesting to see this disparity of where listings are selling from a days on market perspective. You got the bucket at the low days on market, then you got the bucket at the 15 plus.
Yeah, because it's kind of important to know, like the sellers are coming with the expectation of, oh my God, it's going to be gangbusters. They're just going to be throwing money at me. And then all of a sudden you get 5 showings in a weekend, no offers, instantly the tables have turned. And yeah, if you give them their list, they're going to like breathe a sigh of relief of like, oh my gosh, I can't believe at least we got one. It, like, because their neighbor just probably told them the story of like, oh my God, it was nuts. I had 100 showings at my house in Menominee Falls, and this person's listing in a different place at a different price point, thinking it just like, is copy paste each neighborhood. And it's just not. And I think that's what you're speaking to for buyers. And the opportunity is sometimes you just have to like work through something verbally a couple times. And I know you've done this recently for a client of like, hey, where do we need to be at? You've been on the market for 4 days. Like, are you guys motivated?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's funny how it just instantly turns like that. But moving to price, nothing too much to note here. Again, I think what we like is like over the last 12 months, right? We've consistently seeing stable price growth at about up 5%. This year we're at, over 3 months of data up about 5% year over year. Again, we made some of our wagers at the beginning of the year where we think it's going to land. And I think it's, right now trending a little bit lower than each of our kind of estimates. But obviously we're still several months out from that, but still up and to the right on our line chart, just moving, for those that are just listening. Yeah, pricing was less than 250,000 on the median back before COVID. And now we're very fastly approaching towards 400,000. Percent of original list price received. I think this is like where we can do a little bit of forecasting, right? We've got another, just like in years prior, from January to March, April, we're seeing a straight line up of people being more competitive. Last year, where we kind of reached our peak of the percent over asking was at about 2.1%. Right now, we're at 0.5%. So it's going to continue to get more competitive all the way through essentially the month of June, and then we'll see it start to retreat from there. And then inventory, again, the main thing that's driving, the predictions that we have in this market. It's kind of looking like from before, this is like the wave of inventory that came every year from like Interstellar. Is it a mountain? No, actually, it's a wave coming to crush us. Versus these are like little baby like Lake Michigan waves of inventory that are coming each year and then kind of receding. Again, we still haven't broke through the ceiling of getting more inventory coming at this point.
Yeah, and that's a very interesting chart to look at, this inventory of homes for sale, like just how many options there were. It was a very different market. Rates were below 5% consistently, as low as 2 to 3%. It was very easy to go from a 3% to a 3.5% rate. And I think this lock-in effect is the story of this picture right here of when you have most Wisconsin homeowners still below a 5% interest rate, it's tough to get rid of your home. And it's hard to now go from a 3% to a 5.5% or whatever your rate would be. And I think this is kind of still that story here of look at how many homes for sale in 2017 at the least amount of time. At the slowest month, 4,000-ish homes for sale. We haven't even eclipsed that at all in the last 5 years. So it's still very interesting looking at this data here.
Yeah, and I think what we're waiting on is like there are transactions happening each year. There's about 25% less than what we maybe had before COVID. Well, at least those new clients each year, those new homeowners each year, they are at the new rates of 6 and 7%. And that makes it easier. Like, I think we're just now like, why are we getting more inventory now? It's because we do have clients that bought 3 years ago at 7% rates who bought the typical 3-bed, 1.5 bath home. And they're now moving from that to they need a little bit more space for whatever reason it might be. And they are, after 3 to 5 years, they're listing it. And it's not as much of a big hurdle or a leap to go from, a home that they bought for $300,000 to now a home that they want to buy for $450,000. Like, yes, they're going to have a higher monthly payment, but their interest rate is exactly the same, if not slightly better than what they originally purchased at, because we're also at a weird part in the market where a lot of people who bought in the last 2 years, they bought at a 7%. And if they talk to their loan broker and say like, hey, should I refinance at today's rate of 6%? They're probably going to tell them, well, do you think you're going to be there for 5 to 7 years? If that homeowner is saying no, their lender most of the time is telling them, well, then don't refinance. If you're going to move in the next 2 years, you're just going to like do it on the purchase. Like, you're not going to make up that closing cost on the savings that you're going to get in rate. So like, people are still at 7% and maybe haven't refinanced because they know they have a pending move coming in the next 2 years where the math just doesn't make sense to refinance right now.
Yep.
So I think that's going to lead to more people making the decision to, make that move sooner. From there, we got months of supply. Talk about like a flatlining chart with a little bit of, weirdness to happen here at the tail end of the winter season. But, this is the crystal ball that we like. It's really nice to be able to talk to our homeowners and to our potential buyers and just tell them, like, we know what's going on. We know what to predict. We can drill into Wauwatosa versus Mequon and kind of give you like what's the overall market doing here in Milwaukee, but then like what's your submarket doing. I feel like more than anything else, we've got predictability. We can plan around it. We can do good analysis around the cost of waiting, or whether it be to sell your home next year or to buy your home next year. I think that's what I like about this market is the predictability. But what I don't like as much is how fierce it still is on the buyer side, where it is, on my end so far, I feel like it's been more competitive on the terms. Price kind of is what it is. I feel like that's, you look at the best comp last year and you just add some dollars on top of it, and that's what you're going to be competitive at. But on the inspection coverage and appraisal gap coverage, I think that's where I've seen more of the competition start to come.
Definitely. Yeah. And I think like kind of the big takeaway from all this is kind of like the so what, so what does this mean if I'm in the market, if I'm a buyer, if I'm a seller? Let's kind of start with buyers, I feel like what the big takeaways are. And I think you just kind of started going in there. But if you're a home buyer that's maybe in the market, considering getting into the market here, what are the kind of the 2 or 3 top things that you need to know right now?
I think what's interesting about the market for buyers this year in 2026, from what I've seen from like my little world of clients I've served, is we've had to be very competitive on price, of course, but inspection coverage terms, you and I have seen on our own listings that there are still a lot of waivers. And in order to beat somebody who's going to waive their home inspection, you have to be very competitive on your inspection coverage amount. So that amount has grown higher. But I think what also is interesting when I've been helping my seller clients is they kind of know that like we're starting to get to this tug of war of where buyers aren't just going to be dumb because they've heard enough Reddit stories about people getting totally screwed on not having a home inspection. And they're not willing just to they know they can find another home if this one doesn't work out. So even with the $15,000 inspection coverage, if you have more than that, they're willing to go to battle and negotiate on inspection items. And that's, I think, a little bit of a relief because there's a couple of years where it's just tough luck. There's 10 other offers. I'm just going to go to the next person in line and there's no negotiating happening unless it was really significant. And now I'm seeing a little bit more of give and take on inspection negotiations. With all to be said, what can you take away from that? You've got to have your down payment as a buyer. You've got to have your closing costs. But I think you really should have some extra reserves versus what you might have needed to have 5 years ago when you were going to be more successful in home inspection negotiations, because you're likely going to eat around $10,000 worth of inspection items if you want to get a home in today's market for the best homes in some of the better neighborhoods.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot still applies to as what happened last year of you want to be able to go and see the homes quick. You got to be able to move fast. You want to be educated on what the full process looks like. You got to be willing to, you got to kind of know what you want and what you don't want. And when something comes up that you really like, you got to be willing to strike on it. I think that's going to look at homes just to window shop to get a really good idea of the location and area that you're after. Being okay writing aggressively, depending on the home and what that home fits for how much you want it and your lifestyle. But yeah, I agree. I think the winning offers right now are typically, if it's a competitive listing, over asking, has to have some sort of softened inspection contingency, maybe some appraisal gap, maybe. But I kind of see those are the 3 levers that are still being used the most right now.
Yeah, and tactically working with your agent, the move fast strategy you just said, I feel like that's working more than it has in your past. I used to tell people going to see it the very first morning and writing an offer and trying to get the seller to respond to you quickly is working at a higher percentage for us and our team members than in the past. I was hey, 25%, 1/3% chance that we're going to get them to respond as soon as possible, cancel the open house. And I think maybe part of it is we've seen in some of our own listings, like 50 to 100 showings on some of these. Like there's a lot of like beginning signs of demand. And when you live in your home and you've got 50 people coming through, it actually is like, and I think it's working to buyers' advantage of like, I'm good. I know I'm going to get enough offers. If they really love it, they're going to move quick on it. So like, I think that's a part of why, but let's start switching to the seller side. You and I know from doing it multiple times for clients so far this year, you want to do the exact opposite as a seller, because on our Menominee Falls listing, on a recent listing for Tosa, like most people say the best offer you get is almost always the first one because they're most prepared. And I've seen it a couple of times now where like the offer that comes in kind of close to the deadline we're giving people on Monday, or in the case of that Tosa listing, they literally sent it an hour after the deadline I gave everybody, and it was like the far and away best offer. So giving people time to explore the market and make good decisions, I think one is good because you're going to definitely capture all the demand. But two, people are making more thoughtful decisions. You don't want to accept an offer super quickly and then they got cold feet because they felt rushed into the decision. They didn't get to talk to the right person about what, is this a good decision for me? Whether mom, dad, a professional in their corner. That's, I think, for sellers, like you want to slow down this, even though it comes at the expense of maybe your privacy and being pushed out of your home for showings.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah. Anything else you got for seller advice out there? I mean, for me, I think it's just slow down. It's going to be busy as long as we pick the right strategy, but anything else you've got?
I think for sellers, it's you want to price your home to the listing price is a marketing strategy. We price the home to create competition. We don't price the home for the value of the home because we want to receive several offers. That is how we get better offers with good terms. And I think that's really crucial to understand that in our market, where it is a seller's market, buyers are the ones that are going to drive up that price. And the more buyers we have competing on a home, the better those offers start looking as they come in. And so I think that's something that's really important to know if you're thinking about selling your house is have that conversation with your realtor of why are we choosing this price and what's the thought behind it. I still think too that having your home looking presentable, clean, a lot of the little nuances that you don't think necessarily buyers care about, but buyers do have a hard time picturing doing a lot of work in a home. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people can say that they can look past the clutter and look past things, but I think really people have a harder time than they think they do with that. I know sometimes I do too. And so I think that's important is make sure your home's in good condition and ready to sell and it looks presentable. It looks like a good product. Cause that's going to really help you as well too.
Yeah. I feel like I talked, we're a big, rating out of 10, crew here of like, do you love the home or is it like, it's just okay? And I feel like you can easily take a 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 home. And like, if you go to like several different rooms and start like, okay, like that's fine. Like we can paint that room. Okay, this basement's fine. We'll just replace the carpet. Oh, outside, like, yeah, we need to take down that tree and like the grass needs work because they had a dog. Like all of a sudden you just turned like three really small things in the grand scheme of everything, turn it into an 8 and then they pass. Like, I think that's definitely like button up your home because in some cases there might be 3 or 4 competitors and we have enough buyers, but they're going to just go to the best 2 or 3 options. And we've seen that this weekend in Tosa where there was a few good options. One had like 11 offers, one had like 5 offers, and one had 1. So I think it's really making sure that you're not just like leaving things up to chance, but controlling the things you can control.
Yep. Well said.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to see here in a couple of weeks where we come in for April, because I know for us, it was just like, if I was just to take our little team as a microcosm of pendings moving towards closings, it was a huge increase versus a year ago. There's a lot of buyers on our listings. We saw lots of showings, which I assume for other agents led to accepted offers. I kind of feel like we're like taking off on a rocket ship and like starting to get closer and closer to pre-COVID norms from a level of transactions. And we're just trying to keep up with the clients that want homes.
Yep. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Well, with that, I'm excited about the data. I love that we're still in this market that seems to be performing better than any other market here in the country. If you have questions, obviously reach out to us anytime, homewithhorizon.com, or on Instagram. Otherwise, we'll be back in a couple weeks with your Milwaukee real estate market update.
Bye, guys.